This sort of thing shows up in our lives as well as humans, right? For example, a man who wants to start a business but hears an inner voice saying, that's not for guys like me, right? A good self-limiting talk I heard from a guy in the space once, and he's a guy I looked up to, right? I would consider him a mentor of mine, RP Thor. He used to say that nobody in this space does this full time. He's like, everyone only does this as a hobby. No one's really doing this full time, which isn't true. That's not true. And I knew that wasn't true. And I knew that I wanted to pursue this full time. Right. But Ryan Stone's doing it. Right. Rollo Tomasi's doing it. Rollo doesn't have a side job. This is his full time job. Right. Being an author, being a podcaster, that's his full time job. There's guys out here doing this sort of thing. Right. Why can't I? But Thor believed that no, you have to have a real job, and then podcasting's just for funsies, right? For a lot of guys, that's what a lot of guys believe. Okay, but there's a method to the madness, and all you got to do is study what the guys who are doing it are doing, right? It's called modeling. Anyway, so that's one example, right? You just put this belief around you, and so it keeps you from even pursuing it. Like, what if I could do this? You just immediately stop with, nah, it's just a hobby, right? Fear of approaching women. You see that a lot in this space. How rejection is almost rehearsed in their mind before they even go and say a word. And so they end up talking themselves out of it. This is why I like to tell guys to have a 3-second rule when it comes to women. Like, if you see a girl, you have 3 seconds to go talk to her, or you're going to talk yourself out of it. A lot of guys are talking themselves out of it. They're saying to themselves, oh, she wouldn't like me. Oh, I'm probably bothering her. Oh, I don't want to go up and talk to her. She's going to reject me. Like, they're already talking themselves out of it, and they don't really know unless they actually go do it. Right. But they're telling themselves a story in their head that's preventing them from even moving forward. So do you see how we're developing these invisible lines in our own lives? All right. Well, these the mind wires these beliefs and tend to manifest in your habits and then in your results, right? Because all your results in life come from your thinking, right? And a lot of it's your subconscious thinking. Your subconscious thinking causes your actions, because 95% of your actions is habit based. You're doing most of the stuff without any conscious thought, right? Just think about getting up in the morning and going to the bathroom and brushing your teeth. You do that 99% of the time while you're half dead asleep, right? You get up, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you do it the same way every time. It's all habit. You don't even think about it. Right? How many times have you gotten in your car and driven your car and gotten to work and you don't even remember the last 20 miles, right? It's because you just get in your car and it's just habit based, and you just let your subconscious take over. And then you're just sort of, in la la land, and then you get to work and you're like, how did I even get here safely? Right? Well, that's your paradigms at work, right? Well, those actions, those subconscious actions, cause reactions out in the world as you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And those actions cause reactions. Those reactions cause your actual results in life. So if you're not getting the results you want, you've got to start up here and start changing what's going on up here. Okay. Your brain works like a pattern recognition machine. The mind's always looking for patterns and making predictions to keep you safe. But those predictions aren't necessarily true, but we're just wired that way as a part of our evolutionary psychology to stay alive. It's a survival mechanism. So we're almost always looking for what's the worst possible outcome, because I want to avoid danger, right? And when you experience setbacks or criticism, your brain stores these as evidence. Oh, this is evidence. Remember the last time you tried that and it didn't work out, right? And over time, it wires in certain truths of what's possible for you, like what you believe to be true. And how many of you guys out there, you hate optimists? You hate optimists, you get frustrated at optimists, and you're like, I'm a realist. This is what's real. But is it really real? Or is it a self-limiting belief? You have to ask yourself this. After watching this episode, you can't go forward without going, wait a second, is that true? Okay, that's the goal. By the end of this episode, you're going to be starting questioning every belief you have. Wait a second, why do I think that? If you fail at something once, your mind might tag that experience as danger and you start avoiding that sort of thing, right? Even if it's just public speaking, starting a business, or asking someone out. You'll say, oh, I failed at that one time and I might as well, it's just not for me. It's just not for me. I'm just not cut out for that, right? Now, there is a difference. I will say this. There is a difference between believing you can't do something and then going out and discovering you just don't like that sort of thing. Right? For instance, I spent October through April working with a business coach, and the stuff I learned from him, and well, there was 3 coaches in that program. The stuff I learned from those guys was invaluable. I'm using it today in my podcast and like how I put out videos and stuff on social media. I'm using all that kind of stuff. But the main way that they run business and that they're teaching people how to do, I actually don't like that model. I tried doing it for several months the way they wanted me to do it, and I'm just like, man, I don't like this. This is not what I want to do, you know? And so at the end of the program, I didn't renew, and of course, one of the coaches is just hounding me to get back in the program, and I'm like, I'm done. You taught me everything I needed to know. You know what I mean? But it's not that I can't do it, because during the program I showed myself that I absolutely could do it. It's just that I don't like doing it, right? The way that they were having me do certain things. So I was like, I have to find something that's more me, that's more something that is what I envision my future being, right? So there's a difference there. There's a difference between thinking you can and can't do something, you're cut out for it or you're not, and then just going, man, I tried that, I don't like it. Right? There's a difference. There is a difference. But let's go back to the self-limiting belief stuff, right? The more you repeat these thoughts, right? Like, I'm not good at this. That's just not me. The stronger those neural connections get, turning them into habits and automatic responses. Okay. This is why self-talk is so important. And most people don't realize the negative self-talk that they're giving to themselves on a daily basis. You need to be aware of the negative self-talk that's rolling through your head, where it's all lack, limitation, why you can't do stuff, why that's not for me, why I'm not good enough, like all that kind of stuff. Anytime you sort of jokingly call yourself an idiot, right? Like you make a mistake and you're like, oh, such an idiot, right? That's negative self-talk that gets programmed in your paradigms. So you have to be aware of that and try to eliminate that negative self-talk as much as possible. You guys want to talk about some NLP here? In NLP, neuro linguistic programming, if you guys didn't know, I am a certified master NLP practitioner. In NLP, your inner dialogue and mental pictures become blueprints for your future behavior. Okay. You start believing this stuff and it shows up in those actions, right? Like I said before, 95% of your actions are habit-based. That's all coming from your paradigm and your programs and stuff. So that negative self-talk, that's creating a program in your head that's going to actually show up in your actions and your future behavior. So it's almost like when you say these negative things to yourself, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're wiring it into your brain to act that out, to act in that way, right? And if you constantly imagine rejection or failure, you're running that scenario in your nervous system as if it's real. As if it's real. And the thing is that our brains are phenomenal, powerful things. But what's funny about it, one of the biggest weaknesses of your subconscious mind is it can't determine what's real and what's imagined. So if you're imagining a scenario in your head, it believes it's real, right? And anything that your subconscious believes is real, it's going to make it real for you. It's going to try to make it real for you. Okay. So on the flip side, NLP shows that you can actually recode these patterns by deliberately choosing new thoughts, new mental images, and anchoring different feelings to situations you want to handle better. That's why NLP is super effective, because it actually works at the subconscious level to sort of undo some of these negative paradigms that you have in place. And we do it with different methods, different visualization techniques, different like hypnosis techniques, conversational hypnosis techniques, embedded commands. There's all sorts of different ways that we in NLP can use, different tools we can use to sort of undo some of those things, right? And I'm going to give those to you at the end. So stick around, okay? But we start developing these habits as a result of repeated belief loops. And self-limiting beliefs show up not just in how you feel, but in your actual routines and results, right? You might skip an opportunity, say no to something that might be a little too challenging. You might avoid tough conversations, right? And that's all because of paradigms in your head. Like maybe you have to deliver some bad news to someone, and you hate delivering bad news because one time you gave someone bad news and they had a complete meltdown, and you're like, oh, I never want to do that.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.